Welcome to the first episode of 2025. I'm your boy Cmauriceball, and y'all know what it is and how I do it. But before we get started, y'all know what to do. Go ahead, click that subscribe button, click that bell so y'all can get notified of all the dope conversations that we're going to be having throughout this year and some of the panel discussions that we're going to be having throughout this year. Without further ado, the young lady that I have on here today, she is amazing. She is not only a life coach, she's a master life coach. Come on, y'all. When you put master in front of that thing, that means you're doing big things out in this world. She is a best-selling author on Amazon. She is the CEO of Evolve Mastery Life Coaching. And I'm pretty sure that out of all those titles that she have, this is the title that she cherished the most. She is also a mom, and she's out here doing big things. So without further ado, before we get to introduce who she is and what we do and how she gonna do it, kick that intro, y'all. Well. I'm introducing to some and presenting to others, Miss Dawn Ellison. What is going on with you?
Hello. Peace and blessings. Thank you so much for having me. I'm truly honored to be here. Very much so.
Well, I'm glad you pulled up. So I normally have a weird, crazy story on how all my guests end up pulling up on my show. And well, I met her through TikTok. And most of my guests have been through TikTok. TikTok is an amazing platform. So we ended up in a panel. I think I followed her. She followed me. We kind of popped up in a couple of panels here and there. And then we were talking. We had a discussion. And I was like, yo, you should be on my podcast. And she was like, yeah, you know what? I'll do it. And here we are. Here we are. So where are you currently residing?
Currently residing in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Las Vegas. I know you get this all the time. Do you always go to the Strip?
Never. Hardly ever. Never, hardly ever. That's what I say. It's not a thing for locals to frequent the Strip unless you're going for work or if you're there visiting somebody that's in town, but we try to avoid it as much as possible.
Well, we're supposed to be out in that area in February, and I have to hit you up and get some of those locals, hit some of those local spots.
Yes.
That piece.
Yes, make sure that happens. I'll be here.
So you're in Vegas. You're doing things in Vegas. Where do you fall at in your sibling line? Are you the oldest, the middle, the youngest? Where are you at in that stretch?
I am the middle child and the oldest.
Okay, the middle child. So you got middle child syndrome. You either outshine everybody or you rogue and you over here causing havoc.
It's both.
It's both?
It's both.
Okay.
So when I say middle child, it's 4 of us total. My mother and my father both had sons coming into their union. And then I am their oldest child, and then I have a younger sister. So either way you look at it, I am the middle child. And what you said is actual factual. I am the one that shines. All of them have taken a panel. They have agreed she's the one that stands out. But I'm also the one that disappears and hides in the shadows. And, growing up, you didn't really think anybody missed you because everybody was looking at the older kids or the baby. So
right.
Middle child syndrome is true. It's real.
It really is. My sister, I had a middle sister, and she didn't know how to outshine, so she went the opposite way. so yeah. Okay, so you're the middle, and you're one of 2 girls that are in the okay.
2 boys, 2 girls.
2 boys, 2 girls.
Mm-hmm.
How was the dynamic growing up?
We're all pretty spaced out in age. My oldest brother's 14 years older than me. And then my second oldest brother is 5 years older, and my sister's 7 years younger. So it was kind of like we each grew up like only children, and we didn't really have anything in common until we reached adulthood. We didn't actually start really having conversations and connections until then. My oldest brother was pretty much gone doing his own thing and became a father at 17. So he was, in his own world. My second oldest brother was kind of like, little sister, go away, So I really, and to be honest, I kind of did the same thing to my sister because it was such a huge age gap. By the time she was a little kid, I was already a teenager having my own life and doing my own thing. So
right.
it was pretty much that figure it out for yourself. I really didn't feel I was that girl that could say, I'm gonna get my big brother on you. I had to fend for myself, in those LA streets. It was just like, you got to figure it out. They left me out, out there with the wolves and stuff. So I survived. I'm here.
You are here.
Yeah.
That's so what was we just gonna just kind of talk and just chop it up. So you said your oldest brother was gone, and we probably what was middle school like? 8th grade.
Oh, goodness.
What 8th grade like in the hard streets of LA?
Well, let me preface this. I grew up in Los Angeles. I grew up in the Crenshaw district, 60th and West Boulevard to be exact. So I grew up in a war zone.
Okay.
I grew up in a territory that was you just had to be on your P's and Q's no matter what.
Okay.
But I also grew up at that border of, this is where the bougie people are. This is where the hood people are. And it was kind of like it was a wave, a blend of some kind. So middle school was life altering, I will say. As an adult now, looking back, I get it. Hormonally, kids are doing what they do. They're figuring out their identity. They're trying to figure out which direction they want to go in life, and it also is a reflection of where they grow up. I was the girl who, and this is even before middle school, I was constantly trying to figure out why I was different, why I never fit in anywhere, why I didn't feel comfortable. And so I created little identities just to fit in those spaces for a few moments. And at times it worked, at times it backfired. But, as an adult now, I realized, you were uncomfortable being yourself because you're a kid. You don't know, just be you,
Right.
And so middle school was kind of depressing for me. It was really kind of like, girl, you don't know where you're supposed to be at. And maybe it was like that for everybody. I really haven't talked to a lot of people about it. But I know for my son, it was challenging. I know it was very challenging for him because he too is different. He's very, introverted and very, analytical, but artistic at the same time. It's kind of a weird combination. But middle school was where I started tapping into being more feminine also. It was the first time really boys started looking at me, and it was like, okay, is this, you do, little skirt or, because before then I was a tomboy. It was
okay. Okay.
Playing basketball and, doing tomboy things because that was fun. But at the same time, I still was over here with the girls playing double dutch. So it was kind of like, I've always been a chameleon. I think that's the best word for it.
A chameleon, blending into your environment.
Yeah. I think
now when you were going through that, you were struggling through that, did you have a close relationship with your parents where you could kind of go and chop it up with them? What was your outlets? Who'd you talk to? Or did you self diagnose yourself and then come up with these alternate egos that you created just so that you can fit in?
My parents were very much teachers. very great guidance counselors, very nurturing. They talked to us a lot about life itself, gave us solutions. But there were times, as a kid, you're like, I can't go to mom, I can't go to dad, I can't,
Right.
like I won't do that.
Right.
But there were parts of me that felt like because I was the oddball in the family, I'm gonna just call it that. I was the oddball in the family. I didn't feel understood.
Mm.
And so there were certain times that I just held things back. Now, as an adult looking back, they were going through adult things too, So it was like
Right.
sometimes I was overly considerate of them and not myself. And I wouldn't bring things to them to add more to their plate. So that's when I learned how to self-soothe. That's when I learned how to figure it out on my own. Okay, what could I do? What would be the best case scenario for this issue or that issue? So I had friends. I've always had friends, but there were never friends that I could really confide in and dive into. It was kind of like, okay, we're gonna keep it all surface level because as a kid, you
Was
don't
it a
really.
trust factor?
I think yes, it was a trust factor, but I also did. Can I be 1,000 with you? I didn't think they could tell me what was gonna work. I didn't trust that they knew the answer.
That's hey. that's that's the best. If you didn't trust they's gonna give you an answer, that's one way to stay from following bad advice.
Yeah, I didn't think they had it. And it was judgmental, but at the end of the day, I was right.
Nothing wrong with being a little judgmental. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it.
Not for the particular things that I was experiencing,
Mhm.
because I was just different. I saw the world different. I thought about things differently. I wasn't the average kid, and I wasn't the average teenager the way I saw things and observed the world. Like I'm a really deep individual now, and I was a really deep kid then. So it
Mm.
was like communication, and it's like, well, they won't have an answer to it because they don't even think on that level. So let me not. And I found myself being more drawn to older individuals, people who had a little bit more life experience than me. And
Mhm.
even to this day, a lot of my friends are in their 50s or early 60s and things like that. I've always been around older people to look to for guidance here, as a physical form. Whereas my ultimate guidance comes from the great beyond.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. So it has to be lonely to see the world the way that you were seeing the world and just not have anybody that can relate to you.
Mhm. Very.
That has to be a lonely spot because you're on a level that is processing information that people are just bypass every day.
Mhm.
Your brain is grabbing this and grabbing this and grabbing this, and it's computing the stuff, and you're just like, I know for a fact if I go ask them about this, they're gonna be like, "Girl, what you talking about?"
Mr. Ball, you sound like somebody who knows that from experience.
Oh, hey, you know, being it. Yes, I've always been different.
Mhm.
I was different growing up. I was different in high school. I was different. But here's what I tried to do, and maybe like you said, you put on your different mask to fit into these different environments, just so that you can have some kind of friendships.
Yes.
There are some like, okay, I really don't really rock with them, but it beats sitting over here talking to this tree.
I mean, sometimes the tree is the best company, though. I mean,
Sometimes the tree is the best option, but the tree can't get in this car and go or ride this bike with me, or
yeah.
what I'm saying, go throw rocks. So you was a tomboy, got in middle school, found out that you had some swag, and some cats started checking you out. Were you a good student in high school? I mean, in middle school. Middle school, were you a good student?
I was a board student. And I say this because let me just go ahead and brag for a second, but not really. When I was 6 years old, I was awarded a college scholarship to any university or college that I got accepted to.
Wow.
I was being tested throughout all of elementary school for, I was in the gifted program. I was in this program over here. I was with this society over here. I was with all these different organizations because I knew how to take tests well. I retained information. But for me, I rebelled because everybody was so drawn to, oh, she's so smart. She's so smart. She's so smart. Yeah, but that's not all there is to me.
Right.
So I rebelled in school. So my grades did not reflect what actually, I just didn't do the work sometimes. I would show up for class, but I'd be asleep in the back. I'm that kid that sat in the corner in the back of the classroom. My mother actually had to beg me to graduate high school.
Wow.
And it was a collection of things. It was, I'm not living in a way that I'm passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I was passionate about music. I was passionate about songwriting and singing. That was all I wanted to do. It was a form of escape. It was a form of expression. It was a form of, me just being in a flow, a nice flow. And I had to do all these extra things, with the scholarship organization, with this organization over here, with this program here, and do this at school and so on and so forth. And I rebelled. And so when she asked me, she said, please don't miss this opportunity for this scholarship. The only thing that you have to do is graduate and get into a school, and they will pay for everything, literally. And so at that point, I had like a 2 point. I don't even think it was a 2 point. I think it was like a 1.75 GPA. That's how I was just showing up.
You out here wilding.
I mean, but that's my truth. I was showing up, but there was something under there that nobody was seeing, and I had not yet discovered that was the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I was not living in my truth. I was not living the way that I desired to live. And it wasn't like, oh, I just want to hang out and run the streets. No, I want to express myself artistically. I want to be able to do this thing that is really, really pulling at me. And when she came to me and she said, Dawn, please just give me the diploma. Just give me the diploma and go to, I already had my eyes set on this one school in LA. And she said, just give me an associate's. If you could just give me an associate's and give me a diploma, I will support any and all things that you want to do artistically, so on and so forth. So I said, I'll do you one better than that. I said, I'm going to graduate with a 4.0. She was like, okay, because she knew I could do it.
Uh-huh.
I actually graduated with a 3.75. And let me explain to you why. I took a photography class and he gave me a B. But every other course were A's. And she said, well, that's close enough. That's good enough. Once I applied myself properly, it just became something easy. But I was bored because the information that they were giving me in school was like, this is so basic to me. I wasn't being challenged. My mind wasn't being challenged. It wasn't until I got to college and I took a philosophy course. And I will never forget my professor, Dr. Kenneth Zanka. This man completely blew my mind. And I said, that's it. Everything that I had been looking for in school to educate, to fulfill, to fuel myself, to latch on to learn, because I love learning. I just wasn't learning that. I didn't want to learn that stuff. And from that point on, I've been on this path of the mind, learning,
of the mind,
growing, developing. Philosophy led to, theology, and then that led to astrology. Then that led to where I am now in metaphysics. And I'm here in this space earning my doctorate in metaphysical science because of that moment, that commitment that I made to my mother. And I mean, it's been an incredible educational journey.
So in that, in being the talented, having the mind that you have, being gifted educationally, what was your outlets in high school? Like, were you a hooper? Were you a cheerleader? Were you on a debate team? Was you playing chess? What was your outlet?
The music.
Music. Oh yeah, you just said that you was creative and you were
Mhm.
writing music. Here's another. How did you not get caught up in the streets of LA?
Mhm.
Um, being on the cusp of, you got hood here, bougie here, and you right here in the middle, which I'm pretty sure you had hood friends and you had bougie friends. Um, how did you not get caught up in the streets of LA?
Choices,
Okay.
making the proper decisions in those moments, um, and observation. I have a brother who chose the streets, and I loved and thank him for the example that he set
Okay.
of what not to do.
Mhm.
And so I said, okay, that gets you that result. I don't want to do that. So I'm gonna choose something else. And when I was faced with certain things, um, you just make a decision. I'm not a person who didn't hang out with the wrong people. I'm not a person who wasn't around the wrong environments. I was there, but I knew when to leave.
Right.
I
what
knew. I said,
what
okay,
that
it's a little warm in here.
hey, that right there, that's a whole series. Know when to leave.
Know when to leave.
No, I was the same way. I'm like, oh, these cats out here wilding.
Yeah.
I get in trouble. I gotta talk to my dad. Nah.
Mm-mm. I mean,
Mm-mm.
it's also being in the neighborhood, and then we talk the '90s, so the '90s was different. You see certain people, how certain people rock, and when you see them coming to the event or the house party or something like that, you already know the temperature's about to change in
Yeah.
here. Let me go ahead and start my little walk back home.
Right.
Let me
Yeah.
take my
Yeah.
size right
Yeah. Hey, I throw it up the peace sign with the quickness. I tell people I was raised in the hood, but I wasn't a hood dude.
now. Yeah, it,
I
it's
mean, if I had to throw those things, I could,
mhm.
but you know, I'm gonna try to avoid those
As
things
much as possible.
as much as possible. So so in your high school movement, you're underperforming, even though you know you could perform better.
Mhm.
You are just showing up. I know you probably had teachers and counselors trying to prod and poke and say, "Girl, you smarter than this," and you da 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 da. But you said something that was really, really key, and I just don't think a lot of people understand this right here. You said that when you were 6, you got accepted into college, and you rebelled because of the pressure and the expectations of everybody. For the most part, everybody expected you to fulfill this square and put you in this box. And so instead of getting into that box because you were smart, because you had things going on, you had all the check boxes: smart, you cute, you got all these things going on, and then you decided to say, nope, I'm not
Mhm.
doing that.
Mhm.
That's really a lot. I think a lot of people miss that, even in their children. Like, we put so much pressure on our kids to fit in these spaces where it's not really what they desire to do.
It's not what I wanted. Yeah. And
That's at that age, to know that,
mhm.
because you had to calculate at 6, 7, 8, 10, more so probably 10 to 12.
I'm in. Yeah.
Yeah, because 6 or 7, you just doing what your parents tell you to do.
I'm just there. I'm like, what's
Yeah,
happening? All I
but
remember, you gave me a test. I took the test. You told me, okay, you passed the test with flying colors, and boom, all of a sudden, here come the news cameras and newspapers, and I'm like, okay, wait, pause. What is happening? It wasn't just me though. It was 25 of us. 25 kids, 10 cities. So it was like 250 kids out the whole country. And so I'm 6. I'm like, okay, cool. This is fun. But I didn't want all the attention. I knew my grandparents were excited. My grandfather, who's in this picture right here, he's over here.
mhm,
My grandfather was a self-made millionaire. He was a businessman. He was a pillar of the community. He was very much involved in the city. Like, he knew the principal. They went to school together. He was friends with the mayor. Like, all this meant something to him. And so I'm
right.
thinking, okay, I'm making the family happy. Cool, let's go. But then boom, 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 here's all this stuff. And I'm like, nah, I just want to go play with Barbie and mind my business.
Right.
But now you got me
Right.
putting on, church clothes on Thursday to go to meetings and stuff. And I'm like, this isn't who I am. And I'm very happy that as a child, I could recognize that within myself because it was uncomfortable. It wasn't like I wanted all of this praise. I'm like, but I'm not. Oh, she's so smart. She's so smart. Yeah, but I'm a nice person too. you know,
Right.
you know,
Right.
it just wasn't me. And I thought that was all they wanted out of me. So I said, well, if that's all you think I am, watch me do this. Watch me do that.
The
And
total opposite.
and even, I mean, don't get me wrong, when I did achieve goals outside of school, outside of education, I got praised for it for a minute, but it also felt like criticism at times. It was just weird. It was like, yay, she did it, but she needs to be doing this. It was like, we still want you to do this
Mm.
instead of saying, well, what do you want to do? It
You
was me.
just convicted me on something.
Hmm,
You just convicted me on something.
hmm,
Dang. I ain't gonna tell my cause brought tears to my eyes on that because you say, yeah, what do you want though?
hmm,
Like that nobody asks you what you want. You're a kid.
hmm,
I'm going to do what I think is best for you until regardless if you don't like it or not.
hmm,
Um, and I still kind of push my son in that because I'm always like, son, I just need you to add tools to your tool belt. Regardless if you like it or not, always have the skill set though.
hmm. Yeah.
You don't have to do it for a living. You don't even ever have to, but know how to do it just in case somebody asks you. But he ain't rebelled, but I can kind of see
Yeah.
see that. So you woo.
I do the same thing with my son, or that's how I raised him because of my experience as a kid from the
Mhm.
very beginning. I told him I asked him, well, what do you want to do? I'm talking as early as 6. I said, well, what do you want to do when you grow up? What do you like? And I remember him telling me, he said, well, I'm thinking about maybe I want to be a cooker. And I was like, a cooker? He was like, yeah, I want to have a restaurant and everybody can come and eat at my restaurant and my family eats for free. I mean, he would just go on and on and on. And I said, okay, a chef. I said, you want to be a restaurateur or someone who owns it? He was like, okay. And I said, okay, well, fine. That's great. Let's go in that direction. My son to this very day loves to cook. He
Mm.
orders his own cookbooks. And because it was a matter of, you got to tell me who you are and who you want to be. I was just telling a friend of mine this the other day. I only gave him a body. God
Right,
gave him everything else,
right,
purpose,
right.
passion, all the ingredients. I only gave you a body. So it's for you to tell me who you are, what you want, what direction you want to go in. And I've always, encouraged his passions. He loved video games when he was little. Now, most parents, our generation, don't be in front of the TV all day. Don't play those games. But my son, it was the particular kind of games that he liked. He didn't like the shooting games and the racing games and all those things. He liked the games of strategy. building, creating, and things like that. Like he did some of the fun ones, don't get me wrong, but to this day, his passion led to a skill set. My son can build gaming PCs from scratch. He now is creating his own platform in the line of gaming and editing and all these different things because that's what he loves to do. Follow your passion. Key thing is allow it to change when it's time for you to change it, because we're not always supposed to do the exact same thing for the rest of our lives, but be fluid, be able to flow in the direction in which your heart is telling you to go in.
Yeah,
And
that's good. That's good. You know, and here's the hurdle that most of us face. I'm 51, so there were there there was just a way of living that most of our parents didn't pursue their dreams. Most
right.
of our parents didn't go after those things. The goal was to put you in if you were in a town that had a plant or something like that, get graduate, go work at the plant,
Yep.
go work 40 years, then retire.
Yep.
If you were in a place that had some kind of other service industry in it, go work at the biggest plant, the biggest piece in there, and retire. And I think our parents fumbled because nobody never told them to follow their passions or taught them how to even recognize that stuff. So the things that were inside of them that they wanted to do and wanted to pursue, they suppressed it and buried it so far down that
Yeah.
when it came to us being different and out of the box, they fought against that. And because we were kids, we just listened to what our parents said.
Mm-hmm.
I
We're
mean,
breaking that mold though. They were taught if you have a dream, it's just a dream. Your
right,
reality is you go to work, get secure, get stable, and focus on survival.
right.
Whereas now
100%.
we it doesn't work. It doesn't fulfill us. It creates misery, suffering, discomfort, dis-ease because we watch them be sick in all kinds of ways, and I think we're raising, Gen Z and them,
Right,
everybody that goes behind it, we're raising them to be expressive. Who are you? You can be, there's no way in the world you can tell them they can't be all they can be, like the commercial we used to watch in the Army. Like you literally can do it. These kids are becoming millionaires from their bedrooms.
right,
How are we going to tell them, oh, go to school and get an education and go get a good job and have a career? No, you can literally fund your own self to go to school and get, whatever education to
right,
exceed where you are now. But we realized going to college, if you had the grades, if you had the resources, if you were able to get scholarships, loans, whatever, we realized that most people are in debt because of it. That's not
hmm
fun. The competition for the job market is astronomical. So
right,
you probably won't be working in the field in which you went to school all those years for. And the fact that you're now going to a job that you probably do not enjoy, that's not covering everything that you consider to be for survival, and it's literally taking its toll on your mental, emotional, and physical state. That's what we learned and
what,
observed and experienced to a degree until we say, nope, we're breaking this mold.
right. Because we had no choices though. Like I was an amazing football player, had scholarships. If I would have stayed in it, most likely could have went to the league. My dad didn't care about any of that.
Mm-hmm.
I had three options growing up. I wanted to be a DJ. I asked my dad, I was like, "Yo, Dad, I'm gonna be this DJ." He was like, "In whose house?" Uh, You do you ain't no. Your options are a doctor, lawyer, or engineer. Period. Those were my only three options. Now, mind you, I didn't grow up to be none of that.
I know.
um, but that was the framework because he was looking at it and saying these jobs. One, you can't beat the education. Once you get the education, you always have it. Two, these are fields that you can produce a lot of money in and live and be comfortable.
Mhm.
And like, so I wasn't. So
Mhm.
but this interview ain't about me.
He was right for his generation and the way that
Right, for his generation.
their
Right.
generation, that generation focused on survival. How you going to feed yourself? How you going to feed a family that you're going to have down the line? How they couldn't fathom anything that is here now in the 2020s. You know,
100%.
Eh,
100%. And so we've always encouraged Isaiah to do his thing. You know, he started his first business at 9, but you're in the house with two entrepreneurs, so you have no choice but to kind of fall in line some kind of place. So
yeah.
so you out in these streets wilding, rebelling, looking at that work in back of the class, sleeping. You get to you everybody got these high expectations on you, and you just kind of like, okay, whatever.
Mhm.
What clicked?
What clicked, I think, for me was my dad got injured in the early 90s, and he was working a great job for the state. I mean, in the 80s, he was bringing home like 3-4 grand. That was great. So we were cool. And then he got injured, and I watched my parents go from young couple having great time, beautiful family, to his depression. We're
Uh-huh.
going down. And it affected me. It affected my siblings as well. I'm just the one who's been more vocal about it. Um, I didn't realize that 10 years old I was depressed
Mm.
until I was like 35. I was like, that's where that was. Because I had to ask myself, when was the time I was really happy? And it was pretty much any time before I was 8.
Mm.
When we go through and we revisit our younger self, and we reparent ourselves and things like that, you really have to get honest with yourself. When was I really the happiest? When did I feel the safest? When did I feel the most secure? That was pretty much childhood. And when did it change? Boom, around 10, 12 years old.
Hmm.
But that story will be told later down the line. But the result of it being that money started getting tight, things in the household were not unhappy, they just weren't happy. Middle school was when this really started showing up. You asked about middle school. Well, middle
Uh-huh.
school is when, I guess it started elementary school too. Growing up in LA, everybody's concerned about what you're wearing,
Right.
who you're
No, that's
with.
growing up anywhere. Middle school.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you do know that in Los Angeles, it was horrible because it's Hollywood.
Right.
Everybody's still putting on this facade of I have this, I have that, I'm bigger, and everybody think they're a celebrity anyway. So my family couldn't afford that as this young girl is growing. As this young girl is developing, my feet are getting bigger. I got grown woman size feet now, It's I had to figure out not how to keep up with the Joneses, but to keep the attention off of me. Because I went to Payless and had Payless shoes. Why? Because they were cheap and my feet were still moving. I went over here and got this because it didn't cost that much. Why? Because I'm only gonna wear it a couple times, and I'm probably gonna go outside and get it dirty playing or something. I don't know.
Right.
But everybody put all this focus on what you look like. I got criticized about my hair. I got criticized about my clothes. I got criticized about all these things because it didn't match the status quo. Okay. I'm putting pressure on myself to try to fit into spaces and places in which I realize I don't really belong there.
Mm-hmm.
So what sparked was Dawn's identity came through her rebellion against everybody else in their way of thinking. I'm going to put on what I want to put on. I'm going to wear my hair the way I want to wear it. What sparked in that time frame, I became a hustler. I learned how to slang hair.
Okay.
I learned how.
Okay.
I started doing press and curls for $25. I started selling candy at school.
Uh-huh.
I started figuring out how to make a couple dollars doing things that I could do with my hands, my skill sets. That's what you were just implying about, teaching your kids. Have something to fall back on. To this very day, I still do hair. Then it became a talent and ability of moving into makeup. what it was also used for me, a skill set that I used on myself when I was getting ready to perform on stage, singing.
Mm.
So it's the birth of that chapter of life for me. You know, learning how to conduct myself in business spaces, networking, um, going out here and really, really, grinding to achieve a goal. My goal was to get a record contract back in the day. That was it. I'm singing everywhere. I'm writing music. I'm auditioning. I'm doing all these things because I want to do music. But guess what? My parents weren't really going to pay for it. Anything, vocal lessons. The only thing that was being paid for was piano lessons because
Okay.
that was supposed to be something that made you more well-rounded, and that was it. But not vocal lessons, not studio time, not anything that had to do with your music career, because you should be focused on school. Not in a
Right.
negative way, let's be clear. My parents were very supportive of my artistic expression, but that I funded it. I had to make it happen. So that was the birth of the version of me that is the go-getter, the one who says, I'm going to go get up. I'm tired, but it still has to happen. It's still going to happen because I want it that bad. And I have gratitude for the downfall, or no, I'm not gonna say the downfall. The down space that my family was in, because that birthed this version of me that
Mm-hmm.
is self-motivated, that is driven, that is able to continuously fuel my passions and really look at what is it that needs to get done, and let's get it done.
Well, that look at that. But in the mix of all that, you don't see that you just learned how to just become a hustler.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a skill set that I think all of us, we especially in the night, you know how to do something. You know what I'm saying? You you I've been cutting hair since I was 17,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, you just learn how to go out here and do stuff. And I talk to a bunch of young people, and I'm saying just the way that we grew up. If anything was to happen to our jobs, my wife and I, we know how to go out here and make some money.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
That's
we know how to go out here and rub. We know how to go out here and chop trees and sell oranges on the side of the road or whatever.
best oranges.
Come on, we know we know how to make some things. We know how to make some things happen. So it develops some things in you that you were able to cultivate and nurture as you got older. But as you was younger, you now you switch. You see your house dynamics change. You see the. Are your parents still living?
My mother is. My father just transitioned at the end of September.
How you doing on that? You okay?
The peace. He was sick for over 10 years. So,
Okay.
I said this the other day. His birthday was New Year's Day, and I wanted to get to January 2nd because he passed September 28th. Then we had to go through Thanksgiving, Christmas, and birthday. I said, I just
Uh-huh.
want to get to January 2nd. That's it. And the amount of peace, because he is no longer in suffrage,
Yeah.
because he is no longer in the pain, it's it's refreshing because we were prepared. We just braced for impact.
Right.
And you have your moments, ups and downs, and it's the life. And when people say, oh, I'm so sorry, thank you, and I kind of buff it out by saying it was just my turn. And I'm grateful that it happened on this end and not the opposite. Because if anything would have happened to any of us, he would have just been a mess. He would have been a hot mess.
And a lot of people can't say they understand or relate. I lost both of my parents, so I totally understand. And that first year, um, I mean, I was young when I lost my dad, 20, and that was my dude.
Yeah.
So that first year was very difficult.
Yeah.
First few years on that one because I ain't had no ground and no understanding. I had no relationship with Christ, so it was very difficult. And by the time my mom passed, 10 years later, I was in a better place spiritually, and I was able to withstand that. So I totally understand. And again, that first year is always the hardest.
Yeah.
First birthdays, first holidays, first, but just keep putting one foot in front of the other. How long were your parents? Were they still married prior
46
to
years.
46 years?
47.
47 years. So you had an example
Yes.
of what marriage looks like.
I have an example. We talked about this the other day. I have an
Yeah.
example of partnership.
Uh huh.
Marriage is what you decide you want it to be, in my opinion.
Uh huh.
Everybody has a different marriage. But partnership, companionship, my parents were best friends. They didn't do everything together because they still had their own lives, and
Right.
appreciated the time they were apart. But when I tell you they were always joined at the hip, they were always joined at the hip. They had a mutual respect for one another. They respected each other's strengths as well as their weaknesses. My father was the breadwinner, he was the protector and the provider. He would come home with his check, he would hand it to my mama.
Mm-hmm.
She would ask him, "How much do you need?" He would give her a number. She'd hand it to him, and he didn't think about anything else because he trusted her to take care of the household. She was the
Right.
manager.
Right.
Okay. The woman of the house took care of the bills, the kids, the food, everything that was necessary. He knew she had it covered. Any major decisions pertaining to the children, the household, whatever, let me talk to your daddy first. I got to ask your father first. And he would then in turn say, "Well, what do you think? Well, give me the details." Okay. What, all right, it's up to you. It was a partnership.
Yeah.
It wasn't a back and forth who's trying to outdo who. If anything, they were trying to outlove one another.
That's good. That's good. So now you the transition into college. What was what was what was that like? Now you're in your what early you like 19, 20 when you transitioned into college?
19. Yeah.
19. What year did you graduate high school?
2000.
Oh, you just graduated
Yeah, I
like
did.
yesterday.
Just graduated.
You just graduated. Congratulations on
Thank
graduating.
you. Thank you.
so so you make this transition into college life.
Mhm.
Was you still the misfit or the outcast in college? Because college puts a melting pot of people. Did you find your tribe in college, or other people who were on the same frequency, who thought like you, that made it seem like, oh, I ain't the only one in this whole world that thinks and moves and acts like this? No.
Mm-mm.
Dang.
Not yet. But each phase of life you do connect. And there are some
Uh-huh.
people that I still have very strong connections with from college.
Okay.
Um, College, every level, my high school, I went to high school in Santa Monica. I did go to Crenshaw for a minute. And
Oh, that's
then yeah, for a minute. And because I wanted to get away from the people I was in middle school with. Went to Crenshaw for a minute, left there. Went to a high school called Hamilton for a minute, left there, and then I ended up going to Santa Monica for 3 years. The great thing about Santa Monica was the diversity.
uh-huh.
It was extremely diverse, so it was a kaleidoscope of people, different cultures, the whole nine. When I got to college, it was diverse on an international level now. So now I'm meeting people who are from Japan, from Peruvia, from Great Britain and Africa, and all these different people. So now I'm getting in tune with these people know things different outside of this bubble that
Right.
called LA. LA is a big city but a small town. Um,
Hmm.
and so the conversations changed. They became
Okay.
more broad. They became more, I want to get to know more about you and what your experiences are, rather than being around people who we had the same exact kind of upbringing, you know. But college for me was pretty much, I loved the fact that I could pick what I wanted to study.
Uh-huh.
Like I said, the philosophy and going into spirituality and religion and all that. And it was also, I had the freedom to still do my music on the level to which I felt free, but I still felt awkward socially because
Mhm.
nobody's still thinking like I'm thinking. And I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I did not have a great college experience socially, and it has to do with, women, jealousy, all,
Okay.
just having friction. And that
Okay.
followed me throughout childhood as well as into adulthood. A lot of people don't like when you can be authentically you unapologetically.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That part right there.
and,
Unapologetically.
and
Right.
have a magnetic energy about yourself. There's gonna be somebody who has a problem with it. And that's been the story, part of the story of my life, which is also why I keep my circle really, really small. And you have those people that you can trust. But the people that I did connect with are still to this day in my life. You know,
That,
we may
that's
not talk
awesome.
every day, but we still have that something, that keeps us connected. And yeah, college just gave me a greater sense of freedom.
So so now you're in your what 20 19 20. How was dating for you though? Like being in that space of way you think. So I just know cats just like you had to kind of privately lower your bar a whole lot.
Mm-mm.
No?
So when I was 17, I had a boyfriend
Okay.
who we're still friends to this day. He is and was an incredible human being. He was on his path of, becoming something great for himself. And we had a great friendship. But you grow up, you grow apart. That's fine. My next relationship was a soulmate. Well, we were soulmates too, but he was a very uh, great soulmate who could see me, who really got me and knew I need to express myself. I need my freedom. I need my solitude sometimes to create. And the level to which our conversations would go, that was the first time I actually said, oh, yeah, I like you. First day
Mm,
we met, we talked for hours, hours. And like, I've just known you this afternoon. And here it is, the sun's coming up, and we're just talking about any and all things. And to
mhm.
meet another individual that I could do that with was just like it was just rare. It just didn't happen. And we're still cool to this day.
Okay.
But when it comes to dating, I'm sapiosexual. If we can't communicate, if there's no good conversation, I'm not even attracted to you.
Ah, that's
Not
that that's that that's that processing on the 12th, 13th wavelength. It's like you're still talking on two. I'm up we not we gonna miss each other.
yeah.
So and how with okay, so dating kind of you meet some really cool people, you meet and y'all still remain friends.
Mhm.
Um and how old is your son?
He's 18.
Okay. He's 18 now. So you you were just now getting out of college when you
Yeah,
had him?
yeah. I was about 2 years after college.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Now how what was that like? What was that relationship like?
Whew, that relationship was very brief. It was on the rebound of a broken heart.
Okay.
Um, it was a great summer. It was a great summer, and I left with the best parting gift I could ever receive.
Right. Right.
And I felt in my spirit. I knew when my son was conceived, like it was something spiritual that happened, something magical, and I was just like, something is happening.
Mm.
And that exact and when I did the math, I said, yeah, the math is mathing. All right. I guess God's ready for me to be a mother. Let's
Mm.
go. Let's do it. And I did it all by myself. Not totally. I had my village, but that's another huge contribution to why I am the way I am, and the strength that I have is because my son was raised by a single mother. And to know yourself, know your strength, and be able to pass that on. And he observed that. My son has affirmed me on levels that still bring me to tears because he watched and he respected everything that I did and the positions that I put him in as far as his safety, you know, and the people that I surrounded him by to become the best version of himself. He was like, Mom, you did that, you know. So I'll forever be grateful for that one right here. But that relationship was very brief, and some people would be bitter, some people would be bothered. And don't get me wrong, throughout the journey, there were moments where you're like, if he hadn't, I am so thankful for that human being giving me that gift. I tell people all the time, I should have wrote him a thank you card every Christmas and birthday. Like nobody could ever give me anything greater. But also the fact that I get it. I was supposed to show I could do this without. There are, yes, consequences as far as the void, as far as the questioning, as far as
Right.
all the things that my son would have to endure. But that's not, and I had to tell myself this one day. I made the choice to allow someone to be in a space and they chose to not. That's not on me. God has a different plan and a different path that he's supposed to walk. There's nothing that I can do to get in the way of that.
Right.
And when I did, and you probably we're gonna go to the next phase of life. When I did put someone in that position, it was not the right person.
Mm.
It was not the right person. And
So speaking of that,
mhm.
you know, as a young mom with a village, still your responsibility to be all that you can be. Still try to be out here. You done learn how to grind. You done learn how to hustle, but you also you refined it a little bit more. You know now you know how to shake and move, but you're a mom now.
Mhm.
You got responsibilities, and so when you made that choice to bring somebody else into it, what was your biggest takeaway from that situation?
Oh, after I allowed them into our lives,
Yeah.
to vet better,
Mm.
to not move off of impulse. Um, but at the same time, my biggest takeaway was the gratitude because it was an awakening for me in a lot of ways. I allowed a person who I did not completely know to come into our lives who pretended for several years to be everything we needed them to be.
Mm.
And then the true them comes out. That relationship was the best and worst relationship I've ever been in because it was an abusive one, mentally, emotionally, physically.
Mm.
But he helped me put an end to a version of me that didn't need to exist anymore. She was insecure.
Okay.
She was not the bold, fierce woman that she was intended to be. She did not speak her truth. She hid herself. She dimmed her light for people so that others could shine. And she was afraid. She was afraid of not being accepted, not being received, not being allowed to be who she wanted to be. So he helped her get out of here. So I'll always
And
be grateful for that.
I love your perspective. Your perspective is I'm gonna take the good and the things that God has done and apply to my life, which made me better. I'm gonna take that road as opposed to taking the road of it pushed me into a dark place and all this other stuff. So I just hear how you respond and your gratefulness for these broken relationships and but the pieces that you gain are they outweigh the actual situation that you were in. And
Mhm.
so to have that perspective, that's that's a really good perspective.
I earned
Um,
that perspective though.
oh yeah, it
Yeah,
cost you something
it did push me into those dark spaces. It did push me into those places in which some people never come out of.
for sure.
It pushed me to want to not be here anymore. And every time there was an attempt to not be here, something intervened. Something said, "You better not."
I eh,
And this is one of the reasons why I'm so big on promoting life, to live life, to
right
appreciate life, to do it big, because there's some people who didn't make it out of those dark spaces.
for sure.
It really hit me hard when I did lose a dear one, because he, it's a thing where you can pretend on these social apps and all that all day all night.
Right.
This is a person who was always smiling. I mean, just the putting out that positivity, putting all that. We would bounce off of each other.
Uh
But in
huh.
that moment, he was definitely in my life to show me we good at pretending. We're good at it.
Hmm.
And then next thing I know, he's in a coma. And I said, what happened? I understood. It got to him. It got to
Ah.
him because they say fake it till you make it. Well, we were faking it because we were trying to make it. We were trying to get to that space where it became who we are.
Uh huh.
And he recovered. And I said, okay, good. We still got another shot. We still got another shot. And then the next time it didn't happen. And I said, oh, huh. He wasn't supposed to fake it anymore. He was actually supposed to be it.
Yeah.
So for me, I took that as no, we're not pretending anymore. We're not going to put on this mask to show everybody we're doing it big. We're going to do it big every day. Even if it's a rest day, we're going to rest real good. We're going to eat good. We're going to watch good movies. We're going to be in some form of good space every day on purpose. On purpose. Life is always going to life. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if today is my last, I did well.
That is a great perspective because the only few can look at the crossroads between life and death and realize that you chose life.
Mm-hmm. Because that other way is seductive. It seduces you.
It it it'll it'll mess you up. I stood at that crossroads. I stood at those crossroads and I went down the process of elimination, right? Like, what's going to work best for how I want to do this thing?
Mm-hmm.
And none of it worked best for that. None of it. It was like, I ain't about to go out here and I don't smoke, I don't drink, so I ain't gonna do nothing that involves that. I ain't about to go drown myself. I ain't about to hang myself. I ain't want to do nothing that if I didn't live that I was gonna be messed up. You know what I mean? If I you know what I'm saying, if I lived out trying to attempt, now I'm like, dang, this was because I made a mistake, and then realized that, dang, I really didn't want to do that. You know, that being at that crossroads of life and death and choosing life, and then it gives you a different perspective. So that's why when anybody asks me how I am and I say I'm awesome, there's a whole definition and a whole life behind that, because there's a story. Somebody could be walking around with my picture on a shirt that says "in love and memory of,"
Right. Right.
and
Yeah.
they're not.
Yeah.
So I am so, but I just enjoy your perspective on life and how you take these pieces of the puzzle and put them all together. And
Thank
so we move forward. Now you're a mom. You rocking it out. You banging it out.
you. Mhm.
Um, you're learning as you go. You got a good tribe, and and you allow this situation to happen. What prompted you to get out of that situation?
Whew. Okay, so there's a lot of parts in between there. I had a music career,
Okay.
and this person, how can I put this? Helped me end it. Um, Helped me not believe in myself
Okay.
and not move forward with it. So I was lost for a lot of years. I was I was one of the Walking Dead. One of these.
What does that look like though? What was lost? What when you say you was lost for a lot of years?
Mhm.
What does that look like as a mom now being lost, as opposed to being an individual without having a responsibility with a child being lost? What does that look like in your loss? What? And you say years, so
Mhm.
what did that look like?
Um, I once I became a mother, I went back to work when he was 2 weeks old. I said I got to get a job because I couldn't work when I was pregnant. I was sick, in and out of the hospital, dehydrating, all this stuff. So I was still free from employment, but then I said no, I got to go get a job. I got a kid I got to take care of. I went back to work when he was 2 months old, and I got a job at a I'm not gonna say the name of the business, but a home cleaning business. I ran the office,
Okay.
setting appointments and whatever. And then it was 5 minutes from the house, so I was able to come home for lunch, be with my baby, not be gone like a full day. So that worked out great. That's number one to the hustle. Number two was the hustle. Let's work at the gym at the night, in the middle of the night. I'm trying to
Uh-huh.
stack my money and get going. So I'm really in driving mode. Like, let's go, let's get it, let's get it. And then boom, here comes this person who is trying to romance me the whole nine and butter me up. But then guess what? You're supposed to be helping me go up, but you're breaking me down.
Mm.
So what wasn't aware of at the time was I hadn't recovered from the abandonment issues from being abandoned by my son's father.
Hmm.
And I hadn't recovered, and betrayal, let's go there. And I hadn't recovered from the betrayal, the humiliation, and the rejection from the relationship before that. So what he got was me with the mask on, trying to cover and go, but I hadn't dealt with those issues yet. So he revealed a broken space, broken parts of me, and cracked them down that much more.
Mm.
So we're talking, got a great job that was paying me more than what I needed to be able to get a new car, get a new place, the whole nine. But at the same time, I've got this man over here who's feeding me BS.
Mm.
So I'm distracted now. I'm distracted from my goals. I'm distracted from my mission. I'm distracted from everything that's going to move me forward because I'm staying stuck over here. So that results in life events happening. You complain about a job long enough, the job won't be there. Got laid off from the same job twice. Okay. You complain about where you live, guess what? You can't afford it anymore. You complain about this, you complain about that because this person is being so negative, at such a negative space in your life. You're realizing I can't have you here anymore. I'm
Mm.
not succeeding with you. It's that thing, bad. I can do bad by myself.
Right.
But there was an attachment. And finally, when it really started getting bad, collectively with, between the two of us, that's when his insecurities and things came out, and that's when the monster arrived.
Mm.
So it wasn't like it was a monster that arrived, and that monster was the awakening for me. Like, yeah, because this is not, I wasn't raised, my father never put his hands on me. My brothers never were allowed to put their hands on girls. My son never put, no, So strategically, I have to figure this out, because I've seen movies, I've heard horror stories that if you try to get away from a person like this, all they're going to do is come and find you. So I said, one of us is going to go. And not the way that I'm saying, like, leave. One of us is going to
die. Let's clarify that.
One of us is going to
leave the house.
Yeah. And so when it got to that point where I literally was like, it's either him or me, I said, no, I'm choosing me. So I got to figure out how to get away from this, because at the time I didn't know what a narcissist was. I didn't know how they operate. And at that time, there was a wedge between me and my family, although they were still there 1,000% for my son. I said, I got to figure this out. And it got to the point where, well, he's not leaving and I can't get him out. So we both leaving. I'm not paying the rent anymore. So we both about to be homeless. Okay. So you got to figure out what you going to do. And he ended up finding another victim, which God bless her.
Which is what they do.
Yeah, that's what they do. And at that time, I lived in my car in motels for almost 2 years. And I lived, crashed with friends for here and there. My friends to this day are still very much awesome in my life, because they allowed me into their homes when I was at my worst. And still mindful, I didn't overstay my welcomes. I'm like, okay, I gotta go. They be like, you leave it? Yeah, I gotta go, because I don't want that to ruin this. And I gotta be somewhere else to figure my stuff out.
Right.
I have to. And I'm forever grateful for them for the support during those times of me discovering myself, and I tell people all the time, I'm not ashamed of anything I've been through, because I got through it. Sleeping in hotels and motels and sometimes I went to sleep at the beach.
Well, you can do that when you're in LA. It's right there.
But when you tell people I don't look like anything I've been through, because I got through it.
Right.
I healed through it. I'm healing through it. I was one of those people, one of us, who have been to the pits of hell in our ultimate darkness, and I saw and found my light, because that's where you find it.
In the darkness.
In the darkness, you find it, because
people don't understand that.
They don't get it.
I tell people all the time, I know how to navigate in the dark. I can move in the dark easily. In the darkness.
Easily.
And what makes it so great is when you get even though we know it's the strength and the will of God that raises us up out of the muck and miry clay, we still got it out the mud, and our perspective on life is way different.
Way different. Way different. Because there's nothing that a person can say or do that will make anything worse than that. We've done it already. Make us go
right.
any of those feelings. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes little moments resurface, but you know how to self-regulate. You know how to self-maintain those emotions and those feelings. But you also now have the wisdom and ability to see it in front of you. You can sense when it's coming, and you can see it right there. Oh, yeah, I see. Okay, I've seen that before. If you get off that hamster wheel, you won't repeat the same patterns. You won't fall into the same traps. But I will say this: the more you evolve, the more you awaken, the more you become your most authentic version of yourself, the better those lessons and challenges get, though. They get
Oh,
better.
absolutely.
They get better.
Absolutely.
They know how to come
Absolutely.
in through the back door quietly, and then you like, wait a minute, where'd you come from?
Right.
Like, oh, I would say that.
So the switch came on, you realized like we had to do something different. You evolved into, you shedded a person because you said it at the beginning of that. You shedded a person, and this person allowed you to shed a person that was dying a slow death anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so that just sped up the process, put you in a place of breaking out and becoming your authentic self unapologetically. Then you start putting the pieces back together. What was that like? What was 6 months after the switch came on and you started to figure out like, yo, I'm pretty dope. What was that like?
That took 10 years.
It took 10 years.
Mhm. It was excruciating
Okay.
because you also have to put in perspective generational curses,
Right. Right.
breaking down mindsets,
Right.
getting into your own subconscious and learning how to listen to something within you that's greater than you, and quieting down the noise of everything else. Those are lessons beyond lessons on top of lessons and things like that. So
For sure.
once I remember being in, this was the last time, and I'm about to tell you something funny. I have this thing where I don't stay at a hotel that's a 3.5 star or less. I just
Okay.
don't. And when I say that, people are like, oh, you're snooty. No, that's because I lived in motels before. I lived
Right.
in spaces and places. And the last time I was in this space, I was in a motel. It was in one of my old neighborhoods, and there was some, activities happening around. It's just less than desirable, whatever. And I saw a friend of mine that I grew up with, and I knew what kind of industry he was in. And everything I owned was in my car.
Hmm.
I had just a few dollars for 2 nights in this one motel. And I said, can you do me a favor? Can you just watch my car for me? I said, everything I own. He's like, I got you. Don't even worry about it. It's like, thank you. Trusted him. We grew up, we've known each other since we were
Right.
children. I knew who he was. He knew who I was, whatever. But this particular space, I didn't even get under the covers. Like, I didn't take my shoes off. I was just like, it was just that thing where you just realize this is not like, I didn't even shower there. I went to the gym and showered.
Right.
It was just like, ugh. And I made a commitment to myself. This is where I learned the value of making commitments. I said, I will never stay in a space like this again once I'm out of this situation. I will never stoop to this. Not saying I'm better than it, but I'm better than this. And I
For
had to,
sure.
I'm better than this. I'm bigger than this. This is where I didn't know I was talking and speaking life into myself. And I told my mom, I was on the phone with her. Now, mind you, during all this time that I'm living in the car and all this in motels, my son was with my parents. He was at
Uh,
home in his
okay.
room with them. And every morning I would go and be with him before he woke up for school, get him dressed for school, take him to school, figure out life while he's, at school, pick him up. We go do whatever we wanted to do or go back to the house, do homework, yada, yada. I didn't leave him until it was bedtime.
Right.
So he didn't know my life outside of that, but he still came first. And that's when I say he affirmed, you kept me safe. Yeah, because this is my crap, not yours. Like, this
Right.
I gotta figure out. But I made that commitment to not stay in spaces and places like that anymore. And I remember talking to my mom on the phone, and she said, yeah, call your cousin. And I said, call my cousin. She said, yeah, call your cousin. She got that extra room that's stocked with boxes and all kinds of stuff. And I said, I'm not calling her. Like, I'm not doing that. She said, call her. I called her. We met, and she extended her, I guess you call it maids' quarters in these old houses or whatever. So it was just a
Hmm.
room. And I said, okay. She said, well, what are your plans? I said, I just need to get a job. I just need to get a job and start over and kickstart whatever it is that, because I did not know anything about where I was supposed to be going. I told my mom, I said, usually you can foresee a path, you can have an idea, you can have a vision or something. I said, it's all black. I don't see anything beyond now. What I realize now as I've gone along my journey, that was death. That was a death.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing that was supposed to come after in that life. I was supposed to create a new one. And creating that, I had to let that go. I had to let her go. I had to let her die and rebirth myself. So once I moved into my cousin's house, and not 24 hours later, I'm leaving. I'm at my parents, and my mom says, "Get out of here. He's good. Go unpack. Go do whatever you need to do. He's fine." I was like, "But I need to tuck him in." She said, "No, you need to go get your stuff together at the house. No problem." I'm driving, and something said, "Go to Agape." I was like, "Why?" And I was like, "I go to Agape." It was Wednesday night. And it was about 5 o'clock. And Wednesday service starts at 7 p.m. It's meditation and it's service. And I gone to Agape International Spiritual Center a few times before, but a couple years ago. And it was a place that spoke to me. But I wasn't quite listening all the way yet. I said, okay, it's 5:30. Let me grab something to eat. I'll go sit in the parking lot until they open the doors. I cannot remember. If you paid me all the money in the world, I cannot remember what Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith said that night. But the very next day, everything changed. Things started flowing to me like nobody's business. Things started popping up, ideas. Nothing by chance, nothing by coincidence, but there was a floodgate that just opened up of opportunity for me that wasn't exactly that day, but that was the day everything shifted. And from that point on, life has led me here. That very next day, I grab myself a sandwich, I get on the laptop, I'm looking, resumes, yada, yada, yada. And all of a sudden, this ad pops up in the corner for Maranello Schools of Beauty School. I'm like, I already tried them a couple of years ago. They turned me down. Something said no go. So I called. And I said, I'm going to take the esthetician program because that's only 3 months, whatever. I can go ahead and start working and do facials, whatever, because it's still in a lot of beauty, right? I've still been doing hair all this time. I still was doing makeup freelance all this time. And I went into that office and I was talking, I'll never forget it, Miss Marilyn. I was talking to Miss Marilyn. Miss Marilyn she was just going on and on about her personal life. Telling me all about her son. And she was like, you should meet my son. And this, that, and third. Miss Marilyn was a dream. She was beautiful. She was warm. She was loving. She talked for about an hour. And I'm just sitting there staring at her. And mind you, I'm still in this dark space. Nothing has changed. I'm just like, that was just a shift that just happened. And I just said, okay, let's just go see what happens, right? Marilyn, she said, okay, now let's get down to business. She said, I got one question for you. How serious are you about your future? I said, Miss Marilyn, at this point in the game, I don't have anything else. If I don't do this, I don't have anything else. She did not know until a couple of years ago, maybe like 2 years ago, when I talked to her on the phone, because I found her on Facebook. She had no idea everything that transpired the day before I met her. I said, everything started flowing. Everything started going. I graduated in 10 months, got my cosmetology license because I was going to go work back in the entertainment industry as a hairstylist and makeup artist. I built a career doing celebrity hair, working in the salons, weddings galore, magazines, TV shows, all of that. That was my life for 10 years in Los Angeles. And I had the opportunity to be in places and spaces and meet people who were on that frequency. I was committed. I was committed. I had connections still from being in music for so long. All that networking I was doing from all them years ago,
Right.
all of that was now coming full circle. But I was also at the same time, as I'm on this grind, every Wednesday night going to Agape International Spiritual Center to get full, to get replenished, to discover myself, to learn how to have a spiritual practice. Every Sunday morning, I'm waking up at 6 a.m., going sometimes in my PJs, sweats, whatever, to go meditate with Reverend Michael. Every week, I'm my
Putting the
spiritual
work
journey,
in.
I put in the work to
Right.
something about this is making me feel better. It's making me feel better. It's something is happening, and every time I stay on this path, greater things come upon. They show up, and I'm in the salon, and I'm starting to realize I have a gift. I have a gift to make people look in the mirror and see something better than when they walked in. I have a gift of talking women through things. I've been with women who are getting married, who are celebrating something, a birthday, a graduation, whatever. I've also been with women who have just been diagnosed with cancer and have to shave their heads because they don't want to see their hair fall out. I've also held women after they've had miscarriages or have lost a child. I've also been with women who have lost a parent or a spouse. I've been with women at their highest as well as their lowest, and have realized when I speak with them, something happens. And they can walk out here full, more than what they were when they walked in. And I started feeling I got a purpose. I got a purpose. I have something that I'm supposed to contribute to people. So let's dive into that a little more. So I started going into personal development and really, and truth be told, it was to figure out how to fix me.
Right.
It was just like everybody keep telling me I'm not doing something right. Well, they're not giving me the answers on how to get it right because they're not really living their best life either. So let me figure out how I can do it on my own.
Well, that's look, the all that stuff becomes part of your tool bag, right? And when you're a trailblazer, the path is always hardest, so you get the brunt of everything. The you be at the bottom of the bottom, looking up at the bottom kind of things. Why? Because as you move and transition into a better position, we got to throw lifelines back to people who are still on that path. And you might just be on the beginning part of this path. You might be lost somewhere in the trenches in this path, or you might be one or two steps away from being off the path. And so that's why God has allowed our lives to be. Because when I hear your story, I'm like, yeah, check, check,
Yeah.
check, yeah. So the capacity, when you talk about that word capacity, the capacity of what you do and what you've experienced allow you to be able to have a broad scope or a broad picture of the people that can connect to you because of the depth that you've been in your life experience. And that is really really dope. So you come out 10 years later, you this new woman, shining, glowing, moving in purpose, moving in things. How did you birth your life coaching ministry?
I birthed it, I want to say unintentionally, but intentionally
Okay.
at the same time. After my father was diagnosed with his illness in 2016, I moved here to Vegas. And because I wanted to be here. participate. And so 2017, I moved here. I was still going back and forth doing hair.
Uh-huh.
And I went to a dinner party one night. I was in LA. And it was with a bunch of ladies, and some of them were successful business women, and they wanted to mentor a lot of younger women. And they went around the table, asked us, what are our aspirations? What do we want to be? And when they got to me, I'm sitting there eating, throwing down, like, oh. They were like, well, what do you want to do? What are your goals? I was like, oh, I want to be a life coach. I was like, where did that come from? I didn't think it just fell out. I was like, oh, maybe there's something to that. I had to go Google what a life coach was at this point. Because I'm like, obviously at this point, the way that my life is set up, if it falls out, I'm supposed to pick it up.
Right.
And I looked and I said, okay. And they said people who are most likely to fall into the path of coaching are people who are in the service industry. And they said, oh, bartenders, barbers, hairstylists, things. I said, well, I've been a bartender and I've been a hairstylist. So that's it. Obviously, I was checking off all the boxes of, what the job is. And I was like, yeah, I do that. Yeah, do that too. So I really started, seeing exactly what it took to become a coach. And of course, I did certifications and I said, okay, this is pretty cool. And my niche changed so many times because I was still on this path of discovery of dawn. And it finally got to the point where I was like, okay, that's not what I want to do. That's not what I want to do. But these were still things that I could have, conversations and opinions on and give guidance on.
Mm-hmm.
But when it really came down to it, I said, what is Dawn really, really exceptional at? What does she do better than anything else? I said, well, every time life has knocked me down, I've gotten right back up. And every time I've gotten up, I'm more powerful, more sure, more confident, and more aware of why I'm here. I said this, I do the ultimate glow up every single time. And that glow up is an internal thing that comes through. That's what people see. That glow up is my authenticity. This is the real me. And it became a thing where I have an obligation to show people how to do it for themselves. I have a responsibility to assist anybody and everybody who can hear me, who can see me, to show them how to do the same exact thing in their own way. To guide them, like you said, the trailblazer.
Yeah.
Innovative. I have to create a way for them to not follow, but be inspired. I have to influence, because if it wasn't part of my purpose, then I wouldn't be here, because there's some people who aren't here.
100%. 100%. 100%. Look, hey, Miss Dawn out in these streets doing big things, blowing up, taking her life experience and changing lives and making a difference and doing things out here. You know what? You're like, and I know you gave me the Cliff Note version of your life, and I know that the pieces that you gave, though, they're big pieces that will ultimately change and touch somebody's life, because somebody's looking at you and saying, Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But they don't know Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
So when they hear this and they be like, oh, she was in the trenches? Oh, she was out here in the cut? Oh, she was living in her car? What? And this is how, because those life experiences are things that connect to other people, and they might not physically be living in their car, but in their heart and in their mind, they could be living in these motels and in these on the street in their heart and their mind. And so, with you having the the responsibility of carrying that torch, my thing for you is I'm definitely going to pray that God continually increases you in wisdom, favor, and stature, that he continually to supply all your need according to his riches and glory, and that he continually give you a peace that passes all understanding. I'm going to pray for your family, because losing a patriarch in your family, and pray that your mom settles her mind, settle her heart, and settle her spirit, just as your siblings do the same thing, that they walk in this peace that God has created for us, that he says that passes all understanding. So yeah, I'm going to stand in that, and I'm going to pray those things. But hey, look, y'all, I want y'all to check this out. If y'all want to follow her on some things, go check her out. Look, there she is. Come on. Go pull her up at Don the Aquarius.
Don of the Aquarius.
Of the Aquarius. You got get that right, y'all. Y'all pull up something different. Don of the Aquarius.
And
go check her out and follow her and tap into her resources, tap into her stuff. Go check out her link tree. Go on there and look at the stuff that she offers. Get into her coaching classes. Again, you might want to be her, you might want her to mentor you. But the way that you can do that, if you don't physically know her, is by engaging in all her stuff, all her products, all her books, all the things that she have. That is a form of mentorship from her. So tap into it. Go cop her book from Amazon. Go ahead and do that. Come on, y'all. We're a tribe that supports our tribe. So go ahead and cop her stuff. You know, life has brought a whole bunch of things to you, but it shaped you to be the dynamic woman that you currently are. And for everybody that listens to this, please, please, please go tap into her content. Go tap into her stuff. Go tap into it. It does no good for you just to sit there and be lost when somebody has already built steps to help you get out of that. Being led by God, though, that's the key. She ain't out here giving you her own stuff. She's giving you tools and pieces from God that helped her form and shape these pieces. So tap into it. And I have one last question for you, though.
Yes.
What is something that you didn't pick up on when you were younger that you had to learn the hard way as you got older?
I think I said it earlier that I wasn't meant to fit in. I was meant to create my own lane and to learn how to stand tall in that lane. Being different is perfect. It's perfectly you, and to learn to love the parts of you that people want you to hate. Because I think we come out naturally loving all of us, and we are taught what not to like about us. So that's the self-acceptance, part. I don't know if I answered that.
But you did. That's the perspective of, we are taught to not like the parts of yourself that you love.
Mm-hmm.
Woo. That
It all comes from the external. It doesn't come from internal. You don't automatically not love something or like something about yourself. It's something outside.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
That dog in these preaching world, that they say that dog will hunt right there. That's what they say in the preaching world. But look, you got anything else you want to say to the people?
I want to say to you first, thank you so much for inviting me up here. That was a dope exchange, and I hope we have more down the line. I know we will. But I just want to say to people, follow for more. I have a lot of things in store for 2025. 2024 was a transformational year for all of us, I think. But 2025, and I was just saying, Dawn of the Aquarius has a lot of meaning to it. It's not just my name, it's not just my astrological sign. We are now in the era of the age of Aquarius, and everything is coming to light. We see that now in the media, we see that in the world. So many things are becoming seen that were masked before in us all, in the world, whatever. And it's now time for everybody to become and be the person that they were sent here to be. Not who everybody wants you to be, not with, because that doesn't work anymore. Being in your authentic light, walking on your authentic path, being the authentic version of you is a lot of work, but it's worth it. And it's what we need in this world. We got to be who God designed us to be, not what the world designed us to be. And once you learn how to unbecome that and become who you were meant to be, I promise you, life will become easier and you will have peace in the midst of chaos. Kid you not. And it's worth it. So if you want to know how to do that, just follow me. I'll figure out how we can get together.
But you know what? You heard it here first. Hey, I'm Cmauriceball. I've been chilling with Don, and we love y'all, and ain't nothing y'all can do about it. And we out. Peace.